Okay,
Yeah,
that should work.
yeah.
Now, am I recording up here? Does it say recording? Yeah, the little red thing is. I'll have to make sure that that's.
Yeah.
Pause. No, camera. Okay, it's recording.
Yeah.
Okay.
Am I in the road?
No, there.
No, you're not.
Nope. That's good. Okay. I
Okay.
think we're good. So if I can, I'm going to slide this
Yeah,
up.
bring that. And we have others,
A little bit.
folding chairs too.
That's good.
Yeah.
That'll work right there. Okay, now let's go ahead
Okay.
and start at the very beginning, like how you
Well,
got interested in the Air Force and where you went and how you got
Okay.
signed up.
well, in 1950, when the
Okay.
Korean War started, I was a student along with 4 other classmates of mine at Shippensburg State Teachers College,
Okay.
and we all got together at various times during the day for lunch and so forth. And one day during the fall, 2 of the guys said, "We've enlisted in the Army." And we said, well, why did you do that? Because you're deferred until you graduate.
Yeah.
And they said, well, they offered us the Army Language School in Monterey, California. So we enlisted. Well, the other 3 of us said, well, if we're going to the Army, we don't want the Army, we'll enlist in the Air Force. So we enlisted in the Air Force. And
You just left before your schooling was over then?
yeah, it was
So-
our junior year. We still had 2 years of college
Oh yeah.
left. And
Because you
well,
didn't
although
want
I
to
did
teach.
finish, I did get credit for the first semester of my junior year. So, but that's all.
You didn't want to be a teacher.
So
You didn't want to be a teacher. remember?
yeah, I didn't want to be a teacher, but
Yeah.
it was only Shippensburg was the only, because I was born and raised, or I was raised in Shippensburg, and so that was the
Oh, okay.
only
So that's where you
education.
were from
Yeah.
Shippensburg.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was raised in
And
Shippensburg.
what did your parents do there? Or what?
My dad was the high school math teacher, and of course, all 4 of us children had dad for 4 years in math.
Okay.
Yeah,
What did your parents think of you joining the Air Force?
they
Were they okay
couldn't
with it?
they couldn't refuse because I was over 18.
18.
Yeah, and so they didn't express any.
Yeah. They
any-
didn't try to talk you out of
They
it.
didn't try to talk me out of it. No.
Uh-huh. Okay.
Yeah. So I went to school then until December, and December 28th, I was. There were about 10 or 12 of us, 2 other 10 or 12 other fellows. We were all sworn in Harrisburg.
Yep.
Sworn in the Air Force in Harrisburg.
Yeah.
And immediately they bused us to the train station and boarded us on a regular passenger car to go to San Antonio, Texas,
All the way to Lackland Air Force Base. I guess.
Lackland Air Force Base.
Yeah.
So we were on that train for 2 days and 2 nights, and of course, the only food we could get was what we bought from the snack car, you know, and So when we finally got to San Antonio or to Lackland, of course we were still in our civilian clothes,
Sure.
and they did bus us to the mess hall to give it something to eat, and then they bused us to our quote barracks, which was a large tent, and and the only thing we had in the tent were cots, regular cots, and no heat. Now this was in January. No heat, just cots, 2 blankets, and a mattress cover, but no mattress. So, and of course it got kind of cool at night, and so I left all my clothes on and wrapped myself as best I could in these 2 blankets and a mattress cover to get some sleep.
Yeah. So those blankets were good military wool blankets, right?
Yeah. Yes.
So did they
Regular
keep you
military
warm?
roll blankets. Yeah. And of course they also had they set up a latrine tent next to it, so we did someplace to go for for that.
Go to the bathroom. Yeah.
Yeah. But the next day we got up and they marched us to the mess hall, and then they did outfit us with coveralls.
Okay.
Coveralls and what I call boondockers, work shoes, and so that was our uniform, daily uniform, was these over olive drab coveralls, and
Really?
yeah.
Did you get the normal haircut, the military?
Oh yeah.
Got all that?
Oh yeah. Yes. Normal haircut. And so we started, basic, and we went through basic till the beginning of February,
Okay.
and then the other 2 guys that were with me from Shippensburg were assigned to aircraft and engine mechanics training in Texas. And I was assigned to Keesler Air Force Base in Biloxi, Mississippi, for radar training.
Okay.
And that was, as I said, the beginning of February.
Did you have a choice?
No, no
in
choice.
that? You just got assigned there.
You got assigned, yeah.
Yeah.
No choice.
Okay.
So I got there the early part of February and was there in training until the until the end of March.
All right.
And
So another month in
Yeah.
radar training.
radar training, yes, we had to run simulated intercepts, of bogies, foreign aircraft.
Okay.
That was part of the training, and
Yeah.
of course, during when you're on duty, there was a big plastic map board up front, big plastic, and 1 or 2 of the other airmen had to stand behind that and mark plots that you called from your computer or your radar
Your
set
radar.
to keep track of the aircraft.
Okay.
And of course, in order to keep track, they had to be numbered or identified, and they had to be written backwards.
Oh yeah.
Yes,
Yeah,
they had to
'cause
write
he's on the backside of
everything
the-
backwards, so that the person facing the board could read it. Yeah, and
Did
so
you
it's
do
another-
that, or
Hmm?
were you in the front or the back of the board?
well, I was both. I mean, they had us all on both on the scopes and back of the board.
Okay,
Yeah, so
yeah.
that was part of the training, and then they, as I said, we would run simulated um, intercepts.
So that training was for 1 month,
Yeah.
and then did you get assigned to
Then we had no. I got leave.
Nova? You
They
got
gave me
leave.
leave, and then they told us to report to. There was an old airfield up in Long Island, Roosevelt Field, and we went there, and we were they had barracks still available there, and we stayed overnight, and then they bused us to the Air Defense Command headquarters on another part of Long Island
Oh, okay.
for our duty assignments. And of course, I found out I was the squadron which I was in was assigned to the radar a new radar station in northeastern Pennsylvania, but it wasn't finished. It wasn't operational. So in the meantime, we were going to bus us to Fort Indiantown Gap.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Lucky you.
lucky me. Well, I wasn't on the lucky part. The after we got to Fort Indiantown Gap, of course, we found that the only space available for us were the old WAC barracks, and all they had was cots, no mattresses, nothing in it, you know. So we had to wait till they hauled mattresses over for us, and
Set up your bunk.
yeah, set up
Yeah.
our bunks.
Did you get foot lockers and all that other
Well,
stuff?
there were still foot loggers there because it was wax, you know. So
Yeah.
they had foot loggers. Yeah,
Did you have a bucket a day coal-fired furnace in the middle of the
we had no
barracks?
we had no furnace, no
No?
furnace, no heat,
Well,
no.
this is February now, or
No,
March.
this was
March.
this was March. Yeah,
March.
yeah, and
Probably
So-
still cold.
it was still cold. Yeah, but the thing was, we the first time we fell out for formation in the morning, you know. Of course, the first sergeant called the roll, and everybody was present, and they said, "Well, you're free to go. You can do anything you want." And that was what we did for about a month. Yeah.
Free to go.
Free to go. Yeah, just fall out for roll in the morning. Free to go, and of course we were free all weekend. We didn't have to stay there all weekend. So
You still got paid.
we still got paid. Yeah, yeah. So they finally in let's see, that was in March, April. So May we finally got the radar station was finally operational.
Oh, okay.
So but we had to get our own transportation up there, and it was up in Luzerne County, or I mean, not Luzerne. Well, it was north of Bloomsburg.
Oh, okay.
North of Bloomsburg, up in part of the state forest up there.
Okay.
And
There's a moraine state forest up there, and that's
yeah,
up near the Poconos.
yeah.
Is that where?
It wasn't that far up. It was.
Not that far.
Get the map up here.
I'm thinking Mashana. No,
Yeah.
Mashana.
It was.
I That's not, that's over near Altoona.
Yeah, let's see. Well, anyway, um, it was up above Bloomsburg and toward Ricketts Glen.
Ricketts Glen.
Ricketts Glen, yeah.
Okay.
So after we got in up there, I talked. So the other guys had all gotten a stripe when they finished their training. I didn't. So I went in first sergeant one day and I said, "Hey, look," it said, all the other guys had got a stripe for completing their basic and their training, and I didn't. And he searched the record. He said, "Somehow you got overlooked, Angle." Yeah. So, well, I'll take care of it. So next month I got my stripe.
Oh. Did you get any back pay?
No.
No?
No. No.
No back pay.
Uh,
So how long did you stay there then?
Well, I was there then till May of the following year,
Okay.
and
Over a year.
Yeah. Now, at that time, the Air Force, for whatever reason they felt was necessary, they had they got up the Ground Observer Corps again. They had civilians
Oh,
spotting planes.
okay.
Okay, and they had, it was operational, and anyway, so I was assigned to the operation, a basic operation in Harrisburg, where the calls came into, and they had a office, big operational area set up there with a big board, of eastern Pennsylvania,
Okay.
and it was our duty to train civilians to
Spot airplane.
to spot airplanes, and also to work that board when a call came in, to
Okay.
place a marker and then follow it as they could
Yeah.
from other
Recording.
observation points.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was, we're just about, I think, 3 or 4 enlisted men, a first sergeant, and 2 officers.
Okay. What was the facility like in Ricketts Glen?
Ricketts Glen. Oh,
Yeah.
it was, yeah,
Was it a building or did you have a radar?
yeah.
site?
We had, a large building and a radome.
Yeah.
Radome, big radome,
Yeah.
tarp covered.
Is it still there, do you think?
No, I don't think so.
No?
No, I don't think so.
You think they took it out? Huh?
Yeah, but we had, there were just 2 men to a room. We had our own barracks, 2 men to a room, and we had closets and bureaus and stuff. It's just like
Yeah.
a regular bedroom.
So you stayed in the building that you worked in?
Yeah,
You lived in it?
yeah,
in that
yeah.
building?
Well, it was part of it. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and because we could go from bedroom to work, or mess hall to work, or vice
Yeah.
versa, so forth.
Yeah.
So we were all indoors.
Okay. And how long did you stay there in the Harrisburg area then?
Well, then I went to this Ground Observer Corps operation
Okay.
in May, and I was there a year.
All right.
Yeah, and it was easy because in radar, your duty status is 3 days on each shift,
Mhm.
each 8-hour shift, 3 days on each 8-hour shift, and then you have 3 days off. That's just their protocol or policy. So it was the same with the
So that included your weekend, Saturday
yeah.
and not Sunday?
Well, yeah, all included Sunday.
Oh,
Yeah.
it did? So
Yeah.
you went 3 days on,
if
3 days off?
if you were scheduled to work one of the 3 days on Sunday, you still had to,
You
work.
still had to work then?
Work. Oh
Okay.
yeah, yeah.
So,
So
okay.
so it was 3 days. It was 9 days of duty, and then 3 days of leave.
Okay,
So
all right.
and as I said, I was there a year, and
And then where did you go after that?
well, then after I had some leave, and not that I needed it, they sent me to an Air Force base in New Hampshire.
Oh, really?
Yeah, yeah,
Wow.
and well, that's when I found out when I reported up there that it was in preparation to being shipped to Newfoundland.
Oh, okay. So you got training up there, or?
No, they
On
were
the
just
radar, or-
they were giving us, like, we had to attend lectures on different things,
Uh-huh.
and there was some training involved.
How long do you think you were there?
I was only there about a month.
About a month?
Yeah, a month.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
then we were bused to Brooklyn Navy Yard, and we got on a troop ship down there because we went to Newfoundland by ship.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
What was that experience like on the ship?
Oh, it was different because
Was it fun?
there were there were bunks, 3 high, and
Yeah.
and everybody together, and it was.
What bunk did you have?
I was fortunate. I got one of the lower bunks.
Oh.
I was fortunate. Yeah.
Did you mind the ship?
No,
or
I
anything?
didn't. No, really didn't.
The
No.
sailing,
No.
bobbing up and down in the ocean,
No.
all that.
No.
Okay.
It was. Of course, when we stopped at St. John's, Newfoundland.
Newfoundland.
That's their capital and the
Yeah.
port there, and I don't know why, whether they were taking on some other troops or what, but we made a stop there, and then we continued on up the coast, and it was a brand new radar station up at St. Anthony, Newfoundland,
Okay.
and St. Anthony was a fishing village up there. Was founded by a English missionary doctor back in the 20s and 30s, and
I guess that's why they called all their towns up there St. John, St. Anthony,
yeah,
St.
yeah,
whatever, you
Yeah.
know, because they probably were founded by missionaries, I would
Yeah.
imagine, up there.
yeah.
So,
It was a nice little village, and of
Yeah.
course they had there were 2 Royal Canadian Mounted Police based there,
okay.
and so of course we had to unload the ship when we got there, and
Okay. Was the radar site already set up?
it
You
was
didn't
already
have
set
to-
up. Yeah,
Yeah.
it was operational.
Uh-huh.
And but it was up on a hill above the village.
Village.
Yeah, but village had some. Well, it had a hospital.
Okay.
Yeah, and in fact, while we were there, the year we were there, they had completed an addition to the hospital, and the Governor General, who is the head of that
Village.
village or the area,
Whole
what
area.
they call them, I forget what they call him, but anyway, he was the big man. He came up. In fact, they came up on a Canadian naval gunship, and they had flags all over the place and so forth for the dedication of this hospital.
A hospital.
Yeah, or this addition to the hospital.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they had an orphanage, and of course there were a couple of churches.
So what was it like living in that village compared to, say, Shippensburg, for instance?
Well, it was different because we the only place of real was what they call a tea room, and that's where you went to get coffee or buns or snacks or something, or just to get off the base.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but also while we were there were still some contractors' buildings still on the base,
Right.
with beds and everything in where the workers had stayed, and so we had to stand guard at the entrance to the base periodically. We had to take a turn in standing guard.
Doing guard duty.
Yeah, guard duty.
I think every military person has done guard duty.
Guard duty. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was really kind of boring but fortunately, one of the guys I got to know pretty well from New York City had brought his revolver along, and so when we were on guard duty, we would see if there were any rats. Watch for rats.
Did you have many rats?
Oh yeah, there were some rats. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But the worst part was in the summertime. Was the black like gnats and
Oh yeah. Black flies.
black flies.
Yeah.
And they did issue us beekeeper type
Netting.
heading, hat and netting around to keep these flies away because they were vicious.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Yeah.
But then
Tell them about coming home. Tell them about coming home.
the other guy, one of the other guys that I of course had been in the Boy Scouts, and we found out that the one county, royal policeman was married, and he was Boy Scout leader. He was the leader of the Boy Scout troop.
All right.
And so we asked him one time if he needed any help. Oh, he said, I can only use help at my scout meetings. So when we were off duty and could get down there when he had a meeting, we would go down and help him.
Sure.
And after the meeting was over, then we would go back. He would go to his apartment, and and his wife would have made coffee for us and so forth, and we had a chance. And of course, she was a very attractive lady, and she wanted to dance, and her husband wasn't a dancer. But the guy that I went with was from Alabama, and he was a U.S. So he danced with the Monty's wife, and Monty and I just talked. He drank coffee. Yeah, but it was something to do off, and
Well,
he even offered to take me on, of course, on one of his dog sled circuits. He had to make a patrol periodically.
Oh yeah.
And he offered to take me along on one of his dogleg circuits, but I couldn't get the time off to go. So,
Yeah.
That was a kind of something to break the monotony, you know.
Sure.
Yeah,
You're working with the Boy Scouts.
yeah, working
Yeah.
with the Boy Scouts and.
Did you ever see any large bears up there? Black bears or polar bears?
No,
Were you close enough?
no.
For...
But we did we did hire a. There were always icebergs out, you know, short distance off the
Off the coast?
coast, and we did hire a Newfoundlander with a boat to take us out one day, and he took us out around the icebergs so we could take pictures. Yeah.
Oh, do you have some pictures of the
Yeah,
iceberg?
I had some pictures, but they were at that time they were on slides. The
Yeah.
camera I had, you know,
Yeah.
made slides, and so I never kept them. You know.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh,
But,
that'd be nice.
Yeah.
We still have a couple
And of
pictures.
course we had occasionally had the aurora borealis,
Oh, yeah.
the
The Northern Lights.
northern lights. Yeah. For
Yeah.
that, and it was something, and
So how was it living up there? How was your
well, it was the base.
Your
Of course,
quarters
it was
and
just like any radar station. All the bases, all the areas were enclosed.
okay?
You know, so you could go from and up there we had rooms, single rooms. You didn't have
You had
anybody
your own room.
have your own room.
Yeah.
Yeah, and of course you could go to the mess hall or the radar station or wherever indoors. You know.
Did you what was the weather like year round? Was it always wet
Always-
and rainy, or
Well-
cold?
It was cold in the winter, 25 below. It
Oh,
was
was
it was normal. Yeah, yeah, and of course we had all kinds of winter gear, but fortunately, well, the only thing we were out in is about partway through the winter, they had buried we were getting water from a lake, which had very pure, you know,
Yeah.
water up there. So we got our water from the lake, and of course it was pumped up through pipes to the. Well, one of the pipes they hadn't buried it deep enough, and the freezing, you know, broke the pipe.
Yeah.
So they had to go dig down with jackhammers,
Oh, yeah.
just like steel or wood, stone or
Stone,
mechanical or
yeah.
whatever, jackhammers to get through this permafrost to replace the pipe. And so I was involved with hauling pipe, you know, from one place to another, and then at night they had to while the pipe was being repaired, they ran a tank truck. They pumped water in a tank truck down at the lake, and then the tank truck went up to the base and unloaded the water in the reservoir up there.
Okay.
And of course, they ran this tank truck all night, and I was one of the troops that got the duty riding the tank truck at night.
Okay.
Yeah.
How many people were stationed at the base?
Oh, I'd say
With
about
you?
200.
Really?
Yeah.
200 people.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's a lot
Yeah.
for a radar
Well,
station.
there were you know other personnel there, mechanics and technicians, because it was a new radar station, and they had it was a microwave. They had the first time they were using a microwave to communicate. They had a big microwave antenna besides the radar antenna.
Okay.
And there were technicians that were working on that.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Being a Pennsylvania guy, you probably didn't. Did you mind the weather temperatures and all that up there, or?
Well,
I mean,
as I
29
said,
below
the thing
is a little
was
cold.
we had big fur-lined parkas first of
Yeah.
all, and bunny boots and mucklucks, what they call mucklucks,
Yeah.
if we had to be out. But
Most of the time you were inside.
yeah, yeah. So and we did have when we were up there had one hurricane-like storm. In fact, it tore the covering off the radar antenna, and
Okay.
and I went in. They always recorded the wind speed up there, had a seismograph, and I went in after the storm had abated to see what the storm, and the seismograph recorded up to 125 miles per hour, and the stylus that recorded was off the page. It was
Oh.
it was more than
It was more than
125 miles an hour.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then of course we were involved because they had to fly. They had to fly a new radome cover, you know,
Right.
down and get that reinstalled, and and I don't know, for some reason they wouldn't, they kept bringing stuff down to my helicopter, but they wouldn't try to land anywhere near the base, so we had to go out and load the stuff off of one helicopter onto others, and then ride a 6x6 back down to the base.
Yeah.
And
6x6. That's a deuce and a half,
a
right?
deuce and a half. Yeah, yeah. So
Okay. Yeah. All
so
right. So how long were you there then at Newfoundland?
in a year.
For a year?
Yeah, yeah.
Was that your last assignment?
Yes, because well, when our year was up, they picked us up by ship, and they had to stop at a couple of radar stations farther north than us to pick up troops that were returning or being replaced.
Okay.
And then there was an Air Force base up on Greenland called Thule Air Force Base.
Okay.
And they had to go up to Greenland to get to, because there were a squad of Army stevedores unloading the last ship that could get into Thule that winter. So we had to go up there, and we had to wait a day or two till the stevedores got done loading this
On
ship.
the ship.
Yeah,
You were on the
because
ship.
they were going to
Yeah.
come home with us on
Yeah.
our ship.
Right.
So we were up there for a couple of days, and finally we headed home. But they wouldn't. We had to turn in the winter gear before we left up there. So all we had to for warmth was a field jacket and sweater.
You stayed inside the ship.
So we didn't spend too much time out
Outside.
on the railing, you know.
Well, when you were up in Newfoundland, how many, what do you call them, bogeys?
Yeah.
How many did you find? Any? Did they see
We-
any that they
we
didn't
would-
identify?
We would every once in a while, you know, we'd be, of course, we'd be hearing the radio transmissions and so forth,
Uh-huh.
and we would never know it until we'd hear this night fighter pilot say, airborne for a certain bogey, you know. Well, we had to, of course, find the bogey that he was supposed to intercept,
Yeah.
and then usually the crew chief would handle the beginning, the early part, because you had to call the officer of the day to really run the intercept, and so, but we could listen to all the radio transmissions, and we had to then once we found the bogey, we had to track it, you know.
Right.
And,
Yeah, that was what you were there for.
Yeah.
So,
So it was usually a commercial aircraft that maybe it didn't follow his flight plan and
right.
whatever. So, but it gave the fighter pilots some experience.
There you go.
Night fighting.
Good training, huh?
Yeah, good training. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Good training for him.
So.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's. I think I have about 45 minutes or so on tape.
Yeah.
So let's talk about finishing up your tour of duty and everything. And is there anything else that happened up there that you'd want anybody to know about? Things, unusual things. Wind at over 125 miles an hour is pretty significant.
Yeah,
Stuff
yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
And snow. Did it snow much there?
Snowed.
Because you're right on the coast.
Yeah.
So.
Oh yeah, it snowed. Yeah. Yeah. But it was never real deep, like 3 or 4 feet, anything like that.
Uh-huh.
But it snowed, and
Yeah.
you had
Yeah.
to make sure you had your bunny boots on there and so forth.
Did you get out? Did you actually get out in the water on any free time and go fishing or anything like that?
No.
Other than the Boy Scouts?
I didn't. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just the.
Just the radar.
Helping with the Boy Scout
Yeah.
troop.
How do you feel your experience with the Air Force was? Was it a positive, growing experience for you?
Well, it was in many ways, but some ways it was disappointment because originally I thought, well, I'll get trained in something I can use in civilian life.
Right.
Yeah, and there's no way you use it.
You couldn't be a aircraft.
Well, I probably could have, but
Gone to
at
that
that time
program.
they were hiring air traffic controllers, but you had to go to Oklahoma City, Oklahoma for training,
And you didn't want to do that?
I didn't want to do that.
No?
No.
Okay.
So-
So what'd you do when you came back then?
Well, so I came back, and then of course I went back to Shippensburg, and I was out in October. I got out in October, and so I was home, and I had a sister, married sister, and she and her husband were living in the State College because he was doing graduate work in accounting, and we got together one day, and she said, "Well, if you want to go to Penn State," she said, we have a big apartment, and we said you can stay with us, and I'll fix you one meal, and also do your laundry.
Wow.
So I said, "Hey,
Bargain.
I'm going to Penn State." So
Yeah.
unfortunately, I couldn't transfer all my credits from Shippensburg,
Yeah.
but I was able to transfer about half of them. So I still at Penn State about 5 semesters,
Okay.
and the only thing is, at the end of the 1 year, he took a job with General Electric, and
When he moved.
and I was out looking for a room to rent. But
So you finished. What did you get your degree in then? At Penn State?
I got my degree in business administration,
Oh, okay.
and then it was looking for a job. Well, the jobs were kind of scarce at that time, and because
Yeah.
I had majored not in business administration, but specialized in traffic and transportation.
Oh, okay.
And I saw a notice on the bulletin board one day at the ICC, the Interstate Commerce Commission, was hiring safety inspectors. Okay,
Okay.
so I set up an appointment for an interview and interviewed for the job as safety inspector and was accepted.
Oh, wow.
Uh,
And that was with who?
with the Interstate Commerce
Commerce
Commission.
So that's a federal agency.
Yeah, it was a federal agency.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's a federal job you got.
Yeah, it was the oldest agency in the government because it was originally set up in the 1800s to regulate the railroads.
Oh, okay.
So, and then the early 1930s, it added motor carriers, and so that's what I was in the division that regulated buses and trucks
Okay.
that were traveling interstate.
All right. Sure.
And so they assigned me to the regional or the area headquarters in Columbus, Ohio,
Okay.
for training because when we did our first, I went on my first mechanical inspection. We had to go out periodically, and a trooper or officer or some kind would stop truck traffic, and we'd have to do mechanical inspections of the vehicle, plus all of his log and the paperwork involved.
Sure.
And of course, when I started, I didn't know a push rod from a tie rod on a truck. Fortunately, one of the other new guys that worked with me had been a heavy truck mechanic.
Oh, wow.
So
That'd be helpful.
yeah, so I got on the job training.
There you go.
And
Well, that's good.
yeah,
That's good. For the big question then, before we end this, we got to find out, where did you meet Beverly and get married?
After I was in Columbus a year or so, I transferred to Pittsburgh,
Okay.
and they had a meeting of what they called young adults in Pittsburgh.
Okay.
Every other week, they got together at a big Lutheran church down in the city,
Okay.
and they were usually anywhere from 25, 30, sometimes 40, working young adults.
Uh-huh.
And so, and I got to know a number of guys there that were single, and the one fellow was in an apartment in a suburb of Pittsburgh with three other guys, and the one guy was getting married, and so the fellow said, "Would you like to take his place? Would you like to live with us in this house?" You know, I said, "Sure, yeah." Well, anyway, he was dating a nurse from the hospital, and she was good friends with Bev, and so they would come to these meetings, and of course I was interested more at first on the gal that my friend was dating, but I found out very quickly that she wasn't interested, and Bev was going with another guy at the time.
Okay.
And he was an engineer with one of the, and but anyway, they broke up because he was being transferred to Kentucky, and he wanted her to go with him, but he didn't want to get married, and she said, "I'm not having any part of that." Yeah. So anyway, they broke up, and he left, and I started dating her regularly. Yeah.
Okay. In
Yeah.
Pittsburgh. Okay. All right. Any last comments about your service and anything else you
No,
like to
I
say?
was, yeah, As I said, other than the, as I'd say, we'd call it, a disappointment, I said, in learning a trade or
Yeah,
that I could
you
use
wish
in
you'd have
the
gotten-
civilian life.
Yeah.
It was a very enjoyable experience, especially
Wow.
serving in Pennsylvania. I served in Pennsylvania more than I did
Sure.
overseas. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, it's a good place to be during the Korean War.
yeah, yeah,
Pennsylvania.
yeah. I know.
Yeah. Not to have to go over there. Of course, it was probably colder where you were than at the Chosin Reservoir or someplace like that.
Yeah.
You
Well,
might have ended up, but
yeah.
you sure didn't have a lot of people shooting at you that
Right,
and
right.
you had to worry about
right.
ducking
Oh,
just those black
oh, yeah.
flies.
Yeah, well, all I did was when I was at the base, it came in one day and they said we need a drive the 6x6 to do the trash run. I said, hey, I can do that. Yeah, because it was manual transmission,
Oh yeah.
Yeah, 6-speed.
Yeah.
So
I've driven-
I drove the trash truck for about a week, 10 days.
I did that myself. Not a trash truck, but I drove a 2.5 ton and a 5-ton tractor
Yeah.
for a little bit in the guard.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
Yeah.
let me stop these videos here.
Yeah.
Get these things
To stop.